Okay, it should be live now. Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm just quickly posting a. You might not be able to hear me very well because I'm not actually wearing the mic. It's sitting over here on the table, so just give me a second. And I'm not looking at the YouTube chat currently, so you're welcome to chat there, of course, but the Slack channel is the only thing that I am looking at. So hold on, I'm just doing a members only post session for an hour of code tutorial. Members only this morning. If you want to tune in. And so people are aware. Let's see here. First of all, let me know if you can hear me. Okay, Alka says good morning, so that's a good sign. And I'm going to put the mic on now. So people are aware while this is a so-called private live stream, there's no actual security on this. It's just anybody who has the link can watch. So, just be aware. Not that you need to be aware of anything because I'm the one who's live streaming, but the intention here is that I'll explain what's going on in a minute, and then I'll start hopefully making the content. I only have an hour and 45 minutes. Hi Esther, hopefully you're watching. So hopefully we'll be able to get this stuff done in that amount of time. If not, we'll have to come back. But I do. It does feel like it's been ages, Alka. I agree. But I do. I do. What am I saying? Oh, my brain has not woken up yet. I do really have a meeting at 11. Often when I'm on an actual live stream, I pretend that I have a certain thing and then I end up going longer. Not that I don't have the thing, but I usually give the time a half an hour earlier. Great. All right, so let me, I don't want to waste time, so let me see if I can pull up, I'm going to pull up the email from Esther. Esther is in the Slack group this morning. And I'm just looking for the email because it has, okay. So, Esther, I don't know if I should go to in the old email I have from you, it says homepage and then new version. So I don't know, let's look at so peblio.com/hour of code. Oh, .co, I always forget it's .co. Okay, great. Oh, look at this. Amazing. All right, so Peblio is a platform created by ITP alums. Oh, it's doing the beeping thing again. What is that sound? Okay, I'm just going to turn it off. Can't be distracted. And next week in the United States is this thing called Computer Science Education Week, where at code.org there are many hour of code tutorials. And somewhere on here, hopefully we could find the Peblio one. I think it's actually /learn maybe is where it has them all. No, code.org/learn. But, so I'm looking, let me check the chat here. Okay. Yes, sorry. Yes, sorry to not mention Matura and Regina as well. Okay. All right. So, Esther, I don't know if you have a point of view of what's the priority here. So let's go to here. Get started. Let's see what. Let's go. I'm going to click out of this tutorial thing. Instructions, select an artist, functions. Okay, so that's me. Setup and draw, there's me.
I need to talk about what setup.
All right, basic shapes.
All right, so now, where can I find out?
This one's kind of long. Is that the thing that I need to make shorter? It's still pretty long. Okay, so that one's long, so that's something to redo. Color, which is down here maybe, let's see. This one is also up. Number 6.
Color. How the
That one looks like it's only 5 minutes, but I'm sure it could be made. Oh, I love that. Longer. Fill and stroke. Oh, this is probably super long. Fill and stroke. Okay. So Esther, where do you think I should start? Sorry to not commenting your code. Oh, and then this is like an old video.
This is what we've got so far. There's a setup block.
So maybe I should redo my variables video.
Congratulations on completing your hour of code.
And then other videos, intro to the activity, introducing Peblio, following along, picking an artist, sharing your work. Okay. So Esther, I guess what I'm looking for is direction from you. And I see that you're typing now. I'm happy to open up like a Skype with you also if that would be easier. You don't have to be, I could put it on this computer to the side. Whatever you think is going to be easier. The basic shapes is the longest, so maybe start with that one. Okay, great. Basic shapes. So let's look at where we are. So I'm trying to do kind of my priority here is to make a video that's useful for here. But in the other sort of side project here, which is the same project, is that the videos actually on my channel are like really long, and the feedback I get is it would be nice to have shorter snippet versions. So I'm going to make this content with this in mind, but I might not say Peblio or Hour of Code specifically, so that the video can live in other places. But I would be glad to, Esther, now I'm realizing what I could actually do, because I'm going to do an Hour of Code video next week sometime, I could actually go through this. Okay. So basic shapes, what's in here? So let's, where does this is set up in draw. Wait, okay, so what's in here?
It's time. It is time to start talking about
Instruction, command.
pause the video for a second. What does name? Let's use the real terminal.
Create canvas.
400.
Okay. I'm going to have a much longer beard. Okay. Okay, so the end of this.
Wait. And count all the dots. There'd be 400 of them. And there's 400 wide, and let's change this to 300 just so we can see that's a little bit different. 400 by 300. So this is the idea.
Okay. So now in here, set up and draw. Oh, sorry, I missed this.
What are these blocks of code? Why do they start with a curly bracket and end the bracket? I'm going to come back to that. For right now, we should understand that setup is the place where create canvas goes. At the beginning, we're going to set up our canvas. Draw is the place where I'm going to put my stuff to draw stuff to the canvas. There's more to it than that, but that's the way to think about it right now. All right, so now, where can I find out about other commands that I can write besides create canvas? And when I say commands, I really mean we program for the reference page or the properties of the rectangle that I want to see.
Okay, got it. So what I'm going to do, this is challenging. Let me get editor. Let me get the font size back up. Probably to like 32 is probably where I have it. Look at this video. Try to get it to match as much as possible. Oh, I did the flip thing, so maybe I should keep it flipped. Because these videos, when I made it, I had it flipped. Okay. Okay, let me just get some continuity going here. 220, 0, 200. Oh, the yellow. Okay, yeah. Great. Okay. Oh, so Esther, I'm on the Hangout now. I don't know. Oh, here. There we go. So you might hear me in two places. And if you, what I'll do is when I'm recording, I'll just mute you so that, yeah. Okay. I hear all sorts of crazy like feedback of myself like 20 seconds later. So the live stream, you should know, is 30 seconds behind. Yeah, there's a lot of lag with the live stream, whereas Google Hangout won't have the lag.
So in the other version of the bubble that I shared, each one has notes.
Oh.
Things that were maybe like left out because I tested it with a few people.
And okay.
Like certain things weren't mentioned and they get confused. Like when they mentioned camel case, and it was the first time that
there's a lot of lag with the live stream, whereas Google
a variable had a function had two words, and then if people were forgetting capitals.
Got it.
There are little notes in all the videos and things that I noticed.
So I should go to the demo.peblio.co, that other one?
Yeah, so I sent you so there's one that's linked to, which is like functioning obviously in the on the actual code page, and then I sent you one with all the notes that we wrote inside. So I'll just find that link again.
Okay. So I should go to the demo. Oops. I typed it in wrong. Here we go. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sharing it in the chat right
here. I got it. There's video is below it. It's not great, but it's half the time.
Yeah, so if you wanted to start from the beginning and kind of go again, you can start with the video.
Yeah, that might actually help just to, because in a way it might be like less time for me to just start over rather than like spend all this time trying to figure out what I said before and not. And so, nice to get students coding, all right. There's a lot of intro time, just hour of code, right. So maybe covering in two videos. So video one is the coordinate system, points and lines. Okay, great. Video two, oh my God, I hear myself. I have to mute this for a second. Rect mode, ellipse. Check out the reference to find more shapes, order of the shapes, code runs top to bottom, play with the example below, then create. So I need this on the other screen so I can have that as notes. Okay. Sorry, I muted you, Esther, now so I don't hear you. So hold on a sec. Let's go, skip. And let me just go down. This is perfect. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the basic shapes. Okay, great. And I'm going to unmute you now. Okay. So actually, I'll leave this here. So let's start. Okay. Let's make sure I have the whiteboard working. Let me turn on these other lights. Okay. Oh, I added a new sticker, but nobody can see it. It's a little cat. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do, just to talk about it for a second, is I am going to, and I'm going to try, everything should be less than 5 minutes. That's going to be the goal here. So in the first example, I'm just going to explain there's a coordinate system, and I'm not going to get into Cartesian. I mean, I I have to mute this. So coordinate system, I'm going to say, I'm going to show how to draw a point in the coordinate system, and then I'm going to show how to draw a line in the coordinate system. Let me just make sure, like, the default, and let's make this like, and I'm going to just say point 200, let's just leave it like that. If I do that, you got to like zoom all the way in, you can see it there. And then if I were to say like line 200, 100 to like 0, 200, you can see there's the line. Okay. All right, so that's all I'm basically going to do in this video is just look at points and lines and say you can yeah. And then this is the example. Oh, actually, since you have the code with this, I'll keep that background. What was it? 220 is kind of arbitrary, but it's fine. Okay, great. Point 2020, line 3020, 7020. Okay, great. All right. This is the example. So actually, since you have the code I hear myself in like 15 different places. It's very distracting. Okay.
Would it be easier to start from the very beginning, like set up and draw and then point 20?
Yeah, I could do that. Maybe I should do that. So, yeah. I hear myself in like 15 different places. Okay. Let's try that. So I'm going to go back to here. And because even if what I do isn't better, you can still keep this. So I'm going to not worry about this select an artist. Functions in P5. This video introduces functions and create canvas. Mostly fine, so we use it on a different editor. Right. So maybe what we'll do is I can say something. We can make two different edits. Like if I'm going to reuse this on YouTube, I could edit this part out, but I'll say something about how the editor is different than if you're on Peblio.com. Oh, sorry, Peblio.co. I'll just say Peblio.
We just don't have our.
I can say something. We can make two different edits. Like if I'm going to reuse this on YouTube, I can edit this part. All right.
Hello. Okay, it's time. It is time to start talking about and writing some code. What's going on here? You can see all for that technical name.
Okay. Okay. Oh no, sorry. All right. I just got to start doing stuff. Otherwise, I'm going to be here. It's already 9:30. I think once I get going, things will move faster. Sorry, Esther, I've muted you in the Google Hangout because it's. But what I'll do is after I do something for a little bit, then I will unmute you and you can tell me things. While you're talking, you might mute the YouTube live stream. I don't know if that's easy for you to do. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to blow my nose, and here we go. Okay. In a way, you know what? I'm going to undo. If we're restarting, if I'm doing everything over, I'm not going to have this flip. Because I think it's actually easier for me to, okay. I'm going to close this. Okay. And then we do view, hide the bookmarks bar. Font size, does the font size seem okay? I feel like I need to I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to be conservative about this because especially if it's embedded in your page, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, here we go. We're really going to make this happen now. I don't know why I'm like nervous. Okay. I've got the mic on, everything's going. Okay. Hello, it is time to write some actual code. So you see code here, and the code that's written here is making the result that's over there on the right. So how's this working? So the first thing that you need to learn is how to write a command, an instruction. Sorry, this light is not on. It is. I swear I'm not going to keep starting over. But this light is messed up. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. You know what I'm going to do also, sorry, I'm just thinking of things that can be useful, is I'm going to do a screen capture recording, because just in case you want to use the screen capture separately. I'll just do this. Click to record the whole screen. Okay, the whole screen is recording too. Okay. In theory, I could now, but I'm not. I'm gonna keep it like this. Okay. And let me get the chat open here. Okay. Hello, it is time to write some code, and this is it. This is the code that we're going to write. Okay, one more time. I don't usually. Hello, it's time to write some code. So what I have over here is a code editor. This is the P5 web editor. It's an editor that you can use after you finish this hour of code tutorial, but if you're in the Peblio site, your code editor will look a little bit different. But ultimately, here's the code and here's the result of that code. So the first thing that I want to explain to you, and I'm going to come over here to this whiteboard, is what are the elements of a line of code? Now, lines of code can be lots of different things, but the core element that you're going to start with is this idea of a command. A command, another term for this, is actually going to be later revealed to be called a function. You're calling a function. That command is going to be an English word followed by an open parentheses, a closed parentheses, and some number of what are called arguments. So the arguments are the things that modify the command. And then the very end, a semicolon. The semicolon is telling the computer, I've finished my instruction. This is a single instruction, what I want to do, and things that modify what I want to do. And we can see two examples of that here. I want to create canvas, and I want the canvas to be 400 pixels wide and 300 pixels high. And then I want to draw a background, and I want the background to be some color. Later, I'll get into exactly what 220, 0, 200 mean, but ultimately, those are numbers that indicate that I want the background of the canvas to have this pink color. All right, so that, I think, if I got anywhere close, is the first, I'm trying to find the Peblio. That was just the functions in P5.js. Okay. So the next thing, I wonder if I should say, just your task is to adjust the canvas size variables. Okay, so here. So this will have to be edited, and Esther, whether you want to do this or we can, Mathieu, who does editing for the coding trainer, I'm sure would be willing to help. Let me just see here. But let me just say, so since this is, I think it's actually good for me to be very specific to Peblio, and then I can always reuse this and edit it in a different way, now that I'm thinking about this. So you can now scroll down and look, and you're going to find exactly this code in the Peblio tutorial. The first thing you might want to try is just change those numbers, 400 and 300. Try to get a different size for the canvas. How does that look? Pick your favorite size. You can also try messing around with these numbers, 220, 0, 200, and you might see the color change. But again, we'll get into the specifics of that later. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to talk about setup and draw. Mention, write all the code between the brackets. If you see a weird error in the console, check to make sure your code is between the brackets. Okay, this is great. Okay. Okay. Let me just look at this video real quick. See what's in it.
I need to talk about what setup and draw are.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so let's try this again. All right, so before we move on and start adding more code to this, let's take a minute and just talk about why is there this thing called setup and this thing called draw. After all I want to do is create the canvas and draw a background. Well, in a program, let me try this one. Let me start over again. Trying to think about how I want to do this. All right. All right, now before we go, we're going to do something exciting in a second and add a lot more code. But before we do that, let's take a minute just to describe why is there this setup thing and this draw thing. So these are what are known as blocks of code. There is a setup block of code and a draw block of code. The way the program works is setup happens first, the canvas is created, draw happens next, and the background, this pink background, is drawn. Draw is actually happening over and over again continuously. This will be a detail that will be important later. The thing for you to realize right now, the thing that's most important, is you want to start putting the next lines of code that you're going to write, that I'm going to write with in the next video, inside of the draw function. And what do I mean by inside of the draw function? I mean after this curly bracket and before this curly bracket. If I were to write any code down here, or I were to write any code up here, I'm going to start getting strange errors. So for now, for the next element, for the next section, right, tighten up my speaking here. For the next section, all of the code should go under background before this last curly bracket. All right, so that's probably going to be good. Let me just do that one more time, so it's just like a minute of talking, and then it can be edited between those couple things. And then Esther, maybe after, I'm going to pause and hear if you have any feedback from me. Oh yeah, let's see. Yeah, Alka is suggesting if you have headphones, I don't know if you have headphones, you can put those in, and then the sound of my voice won't feed back into the system. Okay, all right, let's try this one more time. All right, in a moment, we're going to do something exciting, which is add more code that will draw more stuff into the canvas. But before we do that, I want to just take a minute and talk about what is this setup and what is this draw? Why are those there? So those are what are known as blocks of code. There is a setup block and a draw block. The idea here is the setup block is the thing that always happens first when the program runs. The canvas is created. The draw block is the thing that happens next, and actually a somewhat important detail is that it happens over and over again. And that will become more important later as we get to further examples. But for now, setup happens first, create canvas. Draw happens second, draw the background. The most important thing for you to realize as you take the next steps to write your next lines of code is all of your code that you write needs to be inside of the draw block. What I mean by inside, I mean after this, what's known as a curly bracket, open curly bracket, and before this closed curly bracket. So a line of code here is fine. I mean, it's giving me an error because it doesn't know what, I don't want to ask Siri. Let me just try that again. So a line of code here is absolutely fine. Of course, it doesn't know what this is because it doesn't know what line of code is. But a line of code down here will be a big problem, and you'll get all sorts of strange error messages. Okay, so you're ready. Scroll on down. The next video, I'm going to show you how to add other shapes to the canvas with new lines of code. Okay, I am going to now stop. And Esther, you can tell me if you have any feedback. How do I turn the volume on here? Scroll on down. The next video, I'm going to show you how to add other shapes. Does this seem like it's the right idea? It's going to be helpful so far? Yeah. Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah. So the next one is just basic shapes video. It's shorter. I know, like in an ideal world, you go to the reference, like you could give limited instructions and like teach somebody how to use, the parameters and then send them to the reference. But if we could just walk through, point, line, rectangle.
Right. Yes, I totally agree. Guess what, everybody? The feedback of my voice was not you at all. I'm a complete nincompoop. I had another tab open where I have the live stream open. That's why it was. That's why I was hearing my voice. It wasn't your computer at all, so you're fine. Okay, great. So yes. So what I'm going to do is just point. Just to recap, I'm going to do just point and line and explain how those work, and add those a couple lines of code. Then I'm done. Then another video with rectangle and ellipse. And then also might as well, and show, is it worth showing rect mode in that? Or is that, yeah, okay. And then either, and then in another video show the reference, or maybe at the end of the rect mode one?
At the end.
Okay, great. All right, so here we are. I'm going to mute this. And yeah, so I think, okay, I think I've got this. Just cycle the camera. Check the time. 9:45. Oh, this is, wow, when this is like short content, it goes fast. Okay. All right. All right. By the way, just as a quick aside, anybody who's in the Slack channel, check the YouTube chat. If any like YouTube members who don't have a Slack invite are in there, maybe like tell them to go find that Google form to enter or whatever. But I don't have time to deal with that right now. But I realize I'm not looking at that chat at all. So I don't know if there are people in there like, where are you? Okay. It's time now to add another line of code to the draw block after background. So I'll put a couple carriage returns here, and I'm ready to type here. Okay, so what do I want to type here? The first thing that I'm going to show you how to do is add other shapes. So there's lots of shapes that you can add, and you're even going to be able to look up and find new shapes that I don't even show you to add on your own. But let me show you a couple first to start. Probably the easiest one is point. Point, so you can see here this lines up. Point is the command or the function name. And then point is going to need some number of arguments. It just needs 2 arguments. I'm going to call this an x and a y, and I'll get to what that means in a second. Another function that I'm going to show you is line. Line requires 1, 2, 3, 4 arguments, and those arguments are an x and a y, I'll call that x1 and y1, and another x and a y, I'll call that x2 and y2. So these are the first 2 functions besides create canvas and background that I'm going to show you. And it's probably pretty important to try to remember to put that semicolon there. The truth of the matter is your code will run even without the semicolon, but I like to have the habit of having that semicolon there. All right, so what am I talking about now with x and y? Let's actually just first go back and try adding one of these lines of code. So I'm going to say point, and I'm just going to pick some numbers like 20, 20. And let me now also say line like 20, 70, 100, 50. All of a sudden, look, there's stuff here. Now, I see this line. I definitely see the line there. And look, there, I also see, look at that point. There's the point. So why does the point appear here, kind of in the top left? Why does the line appear there, where it appears? This has to do with something called a Cartesian coordinate system. So the canvas, if this is the canvas, every single pixel, pixel 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, 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 has a number. It has a number along the x-axis and has a number along the y-axis. So the x-axis is horizontal, the y-axis is vertical, and we actually count from top to bottom, from left to right. So this point right here is 0, 0. If this is 400 by 400, or what do I have it? I forgot already. 400 by 300, then this point over here would be 200, right? This is the 200x value. So if I do this point here, and then, wait, hold on. I've drawn this poorly. This will be like a little edit magic. you'll ever notice that I came over here, 400 by 300, and then I went. So in the middle here would be an x value of 200, because 0 to 400. The middle here would be a y value of about 150, halfway between 0 and 300. So right here, we can say this is point 200, comma 150. Let's go try that. So I'm going to change this to point 200, 150, and I'm going to zoom in. You can see, look, there's a point all the way in the middle there. And I can also now say, like, oh, let's make this from 0, 0 to 400, 300. And we can see now the line goes from the top left, 0, 0, to the bottom right, 400, comma 300. Okay, so now that you know about point and line, scroll down and try adding a bunch of points and lines with different coordinates yourself. Make sure that that all of your calls to point and line come after background and that they come before the last curly bracket. All right. That felt like it was a little, Esther, I have turned the volume on. That felt like that was a little bit long, but maybe it's because I stopped and started. I guess I could just like do it one more time. I don't know if you have any feedback there.
I think it was okay because then rectangle and ellipse will be pretty short.
Yes, 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 yeah. I mean, the one thing that I did skip, which was useful, I think, to skip that I often end up doing is I talk about the, I start like talking about the traditional Cartesian system where up and then down. So I feel like leaving that out is much cleaner for this context.
Yeah, we started just doing like an unplugged drawing activity with that coordinate system and then not explaining it at all, because then
right.
you get what the coordinate system is.
Right.
And then translate to that.
Right, right. Okay, awesome. Okay, so that, I can always, now that we're doing this, I feel like at the end I can always come back and also like, okay, so let's, in the interest of time, let me keep going. So the next thing is rectangle and ellipse. Yeah, these are going to be pretty easy. I'm just thinking, rectangle and ellipse. Okay. And so the most important, let me just look at your notes again to make sure I'm catching everything. Basic shapes, rect mode, ellipse, and check out the reference. The order of the shapes, top to bottom, also is important. Okay. All right, so do you have a link to the reference on the page? Is that like there'll be a link to the reference? Or I just tell them go to p5jes.org/reference?
Yeah, there's a link to it that you can just
okay. Okay, great. Yeah, okay. So let me open it up, just have it ready. And reference.
We also, I mean, you don't have to mention it, but basically there's a pop-up workspace at the bottom of the page where people should create their composition.
Okay. Okay, so it's no longer like, once they're into the rectangle and ellipse.
Code in the editors, but now they should actually make their composition, so they can probably do it.
Got it. So this is basically a thing for the very end of the video. Go and create your composition in the workspace at the bottom.
Yeah, so once they know how to draw basic shapes, they can create their compositions, and then they'll add color to it, and interactive, and then share their thoughts.
Yeah. This is awesome. I'm so excited about this. Okay. All right. So let's see. 2D primitives. So I guess maybe what I'll do is I'll leave the reference on this page. I mean, leave the reference here. I mean, I guess I could scroll. I guess I could load here and then scroll down. That's fine. Just the shapes. That's what I need to do. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to mute this here. Let me just do this to the camera. All right. Okay. Okay, hope you enjoyed your points and lines, but guess what? We're going to make some more shapes that are even more exciting than points and lines, rectangles and circles. So I guess I should say rectangles and the whole ellipse thing is weird. Let me do that one more time. I'm going to say ellipse, but then I guess. Because I guess the function name is ellipse. Okay. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed making your points and lines. Now it's time for two more shapes that are, if you can believe this, even more exciting than just points and lines. Rectangles and ellipses. Okay, so let's come over here. The two new commands or functions that you want to try now are rect for rectangle and ellipse, E-L-L-I-P-S-E for ellipse. Both of these are going to require 1, 2, 3, 4 arguments. The thing that's interesting here, sorry, thinking about this. I want to be quick about this. Yeah. The thing that's interesting here is these shapes, in addition to have an X and a Y, that's the reference point where the shape is, and then two more arguments to describe its size, a width and a height. And in the case of an ellipse, it's a little bit strange, but I'll show you how that works in a second. So let's actually just go ahead and do that. Let's first add a rectangle. So I'm going to say rectangle. I'm going to give it the point, I'm going to put it at 20, 20, somewhere in the top left, and say 100, 50. And now we can see, look, there's a rectangle. This point right here, the top left of the rectangle, is 20 in the X, 20 in the Y. The width is, I forgot what it was already, 100, 50. All right, now let's actually move this over and put it in the center. So you can see it's here. Now, interestingly enough, you really can see that the top left is in the center, not the center of the rectangle. However, I will show you that you can actually say rect mode center. If you type this function and use the keyword center, it will actually now consider the rectangle's center to be its XY point. All right, the next thing that I'm going to show you is ellipse. And I can say, I'm going to put an ellipse in exactly the same place, and I'm going to give it the same exact dimensions. Look, now there is an ellipse that looks like it's sitting inside the rectangle. It's only sitting inside the rectangle because I drew it after the rectangle. If I take the rectangle and put it after the ellipse, then all of a sudden, look, the rectangle is covering it. So this is really important. The order that you write these lines of code is the order that the shapes are drawn. So if you draw a rectangle after ellipse, it's going to appear over the ellipse. Just to make this more clear, let me move the ellipse up. And let me move the rectangle down, and I'm going to put rectangle mode with rectangle. Okay, last thing I want to show you. The width and height for a rectangle is obviously the width, how long it is across, how high it is up and down. The dimensions, hold on, let me do that again. This is like, I guess the question is, the thing that I was going to show is that you can do this with ellipse. Can you do that with rectangle? No. That's weird. You probably should be able to. So maybe I just won't bother showing that. Hold on, Esther, I'm going to put you here. So my question for you is, should I bother to show that you can actually do the ellipse with just one? Or maybe I should have started that way because then it's a circle and its diameter. Yeah, okay, I'll do that, great. I sort of feel like, oh, I meant to show rectangle mode after. I'm going to just do this whole thing again, since it just takes, and then it, again, you can use whatever you want. I'm not suggesting that it's going to be better. But I feel like sometimes it might be a little bit tighter in terms of thinking about length. Because now I realize, whoops, what I'm doing. I just want to check the time. It's 10 o'clock, so there's still, and then I just want to look at how much is left to do. There's color, fill and stroke, and then, commenting your code. Okay. And then the thing I definitely want to redo now, make sure I get to, is the variables thing, because that looks like a video from like 10 years ago. But the other stuff could work if we don't get to it. Okay. So let me just do this one more time. Okay. All right. It is now time to learn more drawing functions beyond just point and line. So the two new functions that I want to show you in this video are rectangle and ellipse. So these work exactly the same way. We have a kind of command name. It is RECT, short for rectangle. And then for ellipse, or which is a sort of fancier word for circle, it is ELLIPSE. And each of these require 4 arguments. With ellipse, I'm going to show you actually that you can get away with just 3, but we'll get to that at the sort of later once I start drawing it. So rectangle is a way to draw exactly that. A rectangle, ellipse is a way to draw a circle. So let's look at what these arguments are when we go and type the code. All right, so here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say rectangle, and let's put this rectangle in the middle. So I'm going to give it an x. By the way, here they are. The first 2 arguments are the x, y location of the rectangle. I'm going to say 200, 100, and then I'm going to give it a size of 50, 50. So we can see, look, there's this rectangle. So let me actually just quickly draw this for you. Over here, right? If this is my rectangle, this is the x, y. That is the first 2 arguments. This, how long it is horizontally, is the width, and how tall it is vertically is the height. So coming back over here, you can see now if I were to change some of these arguments and say, oh, now it should be 150 pixels wide, you can see it got much wider. Okay, now let's try the same exact thing with ellipse. So I can actually I'm going to use the same numbers, but use the second parameter, the second argument, the y value lower down. And I'm going to say 150, 50. And look, whoa, okay. So this is kind of weird. Interestingly enough, you can see that this is a rectangle with a width and a height, and this is an ellipse with a width and a height. But they're in different places. I gave them this, all right, let me do this again. I think actually putting it on top is a good idea. Let me now try an ellipse with exactly these same arguments. What if I were to say ellipse 200, 100, 150, 50? Whoa! So I have an ellipse, but look, it's in a totally different place. That's so weird. The rectangle is here, the ellipse is here, but they have the same exact arguments. So this is a sort of a funny thing. But when you draw a rectangle, the x, y is the top left. When you draw a circle or an ellipse, the x, y by default is the center. So now let's play with this a little bit more, and I'm going to move the ellipse down. Whoops, let's move it down to 200. And I'm also going to show you something, which is that if I happen to take, by the way, the fourth argument off, I get a nice perfect circle. So you can see here I get a circle because I don't need the fourth argument if the width and the height of the ellipse is the same. 150 is really the diameter of the circle. The last thing I want to show you is sometimes it's actually kind of inconvenient to think about rectangles in this way with the x, y as the top left. So there's another command I can add called rectangle mode, or more simply RECTMODE. The capital M is very important. And then I can type center. And now you can see this rectangle is now the XY defines the location for the center of the rectangle. So I have rectangle mode center, a rectangle at 200, 100 with a width of 150, a height of 50, an ellipse at 200, 200 with a diameter of 150, which makes it a circle. So you now, with points, lines, rectangles, and ellipses, can create your own composition. Go ahead and open up the workspace at the bottom of this page and create your own composition. But wait first, one more thing I'm going to show you. So I showed you point, line, rectangle, and ellipse. There are other kinds of shapes you can draw. I can't possibly show you all of them, but it's a thing that you could actually go and look up. What is it that I want to draw? And so that's where you might want to go and find the link to the P5JS reference. So this is the P5JS website. Here under reference, under shape, under 2D primitive, we could say, okay, you learned about point, you learned about line, you learned about ellipse, you learned about rectangle, but there's also a triangle, a quad, an arc. You can start to try to play with those. And when you want to look for more information, if I click on point, for example, you're going to see here is some example code that shows how it works, that renders where the points are, and a little bit lower on the page, it explains the point has an X, a Y, and oh boy, there's a Z. That's for another day and another time if you ever want to enter the third dimension in programming. Okay, I'm excited to hear about what you make for your composition. Go ahead and make your composition, and in the next section, we'll look at actually adding color, which is an obvious thing that you're probably thinking about wanting to do. I don't know if that ended up being too long.
It's fine. If the other ones are shorter, I'm sure it'll be converted.
Yeah. You can also obviously like edit these down too. And if you wanted to like separate the reference thing into a separate thing, like.
Yeah, the information wasn't important. Like nothing was superfluous. So.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So let me see where I am. So Alka is pointing out a couple mistakes maybe I made. Here. Someone with Captain Disillusion we can hire to like fix this in post-production. I'll put that H there now. And then, Alka, you're saying there were some encoding issues for a moment there. So typically, I find that when there's like weird issues on the live stream, they're not in my recorded video. So I think we're just going to have to hope for that. Okay. Let's see. So next up is, I'm just checking the time, 10:05. Okay, wow, this is great. Next up is color. Okay, what's in this video?
Color. How does color work on a computer? Yeah, I should have thought of this before I started recording this video, but here's what I'm going to say it with 3 syllables. R stands for, apply that. If I mix all about H. Those ranges for yourself and color function, assuming a grid. A lot of different ways.
Okay, great. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to do a video very briefly that is just explaining color and RGB and just using background. And so that can definitely be shorter than 5 minutes. And I think what might actually make sense is for me to erase. Okay. 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 Just checking the time. All right, oops, I'm in the wrong screen. Okay, here we go. delete this. Okay. Does this matter where the laptop is? I don't think it really does. Okay. Let me just cycle the camera so it doesn't go off in the middle. Okay. Let me think here. All right. Now it's time to look at adding color. Every single shape that I've drawn here, the rectangle, the ellipse, the point, the line, I can set any color that I want for those shapes. So how do I do that? So the clue for how to do this is in the background function. The background function is a command that takes 3 arguments. Those arguments specify the color that I want to appear in the background of the canvas. What are the numbers? What do those numbers mean? So color, at least digital color on a computer is typically described as RGB color. RGB. And if you think about that for a second, you could probably guess what the R, the G, and the B stand for. Red, green, and blue. If you've ever mixed paints before, there's something similar going on here. You take some red paint, you mix it with some blue paint, suddenly it's purple. So this is about adding a little bit of paint, or a lot of paint, a certain amount of red, green, and blue. Here's the thing though, paint is absolutely the wrong analogy. The actual kind of color we're talking about here is the same as how light works. So what you really should think about is 2 flashlights, a red flashlight and a blue flashlight, shining those together, mixing them. So lots and lots of color, brighter, more color, lower numbers, less, darker, less color. So let's look at how that might work. So for example, in the background function, if I take away all the blue, you can see that's quite red. If I take away all the red, you can see, oh, suddenly it's black. If I add in some number amount of green, suddenly it's green. Let's add with a little bit of green, a little bit of blue, oh, we got like this turquoisey type thing. So the question now is, what kinds of numbers are you allowed to put in here? So the range for any one of these values is between 0 and 255. 0 means no red, 255 means all the possible red. So we can see here, 255 is all the red, and like I said, 0 is no red. What happens if I say all the red, all the green, I've got yellow, and then all the blue, white? So again, this is what happens with light. If you have lots of red, lots of green, and lots of blue light, you get white. And in fact, something to notice here is if the values are all the same, 100, 100, 100, you're always going to get what's known as a grayscale color. And in fact, for short, you can actually, if you want, just use one number. So if I say 0, I've got a black background. If I say 255, I've got a white background. Okay, in Peblio, right below, you'll see there's some sliders you can play with to try different colors, ranges, different RGB colors with ranges between 0 and 255. Pick your favorite color, add it to your background, and in the next video I'm going to show you how do you actually take this idea and add color to your points and lines and rectangles and ellipses. How's that, okay? I should be timing myself here. Maybe I'll do that from now on, because I have no sense of whether that was like 3 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes. What's that?
I could time the.
Okay, yeah. But did that seem okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So next is I guess a color picker would be a nice way to say it. Okay, now use the RGB color pick color values in the background. Then, right, okay. Got it. So now, fill and stroke. And should I also, so the next video is about explaining stroke, fill, order being important, and also no stroke, no fill, mentioning the capitalization thing. And that's it really, yes?
Yeah, and just, right, the order of the capitalization and then, yeah, and stroke weight,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, stroke weight. So I'll do stroke weight as well. Okay, great. Okay. So let me actually I'm going to predict. I'm going to just leave this here but make it smaller. And then because I'm going to put stroke and fill, no stroke and stroke, all that stuff here. Okay. Do that, okay. Okay, here we go. Now it's time to add color to your points, lines, rectangles, and ellipses. So we need to learn a couple new commands in order to do this. More than just two, actually, but we can start with two. The two most important ones for you to learn are stroke and fill. Each one of these takes 3 arguments, the amount of red, the amount of green, the amount of blue. You could also just use one argument if it's a grayscale color. And stroke is a color that indicates what color you want the outline of a shape to be. So if you have an ellipse, the outline of that ellipse will be this RGB color. Fill is a function that sets the interior color of a shape. So what do you want to fill that shape with? So one thing you might notice, by the way, is that both a rectangle and an ellipse have both a stroke and a fill, but a point and a line, do those have a fill? No. So only stroke can apply to points and lines. So let's go look at how this works now in the actual code. So I'm gonna simplify this for a second and just take out the point and the line. And what I'm gonna do is right here, sorry, let me do that again. So I'm going to simplify this for a second and just take out the point and the line, and I'm going to add the stroke function and the fill function. I'm just going to fill them with zeros. So this is the basic idea. You can see now stroke and fill, it's very important that these functions come before drawing the rectangle and ellipse. It's like setting the pen color. You're saying in advance, hey, I'm about to draw something. Let me set the pen color for the stroke to 0, 0, 0 and the fill to 0, 0, 0. Okay, so now of course we can try other colors. Like let's make the stroke green, there we go, and let's make the fill blue. Now, it's up to you here. This is really all you need to do. No, now you can start to play around with all these different colors. However, what if you want to have the circle be a different color than the rectangle? Now what I need to do is I need to add another stroke and fill in between drawing the rectangle and the ellipse. So again, stroke and fill set the rectangle color. Now I can say stroke 255, 0, 0 for red, and fill 0, 0, 255, 0 for green. So now you can see the The rectangle has a green outline and a blue interior. The circle has a red outline and a green interior. And if I were to zoom all the way in, you can see that that is in fact the case. I'm pausing for a second because this is not the end of the video. But that's mostly everything. So I need to, the things that I haven't talked about, and that was about 3 minutes, that I haven't talked about are, let me just pause. Does this pause? How come I don't have a pause on this? That's ridiculous. Stop. Oh no, start? Yeah, stop is pause. Okay. I didn't cover no stroke, no fill. Let's do, and then also the sort of weirdness about draw looping. That's definitely tricky to describe because the way that I've written this now, even if I put something at the bottom. Okay, but I think I can just say that in one sentence towards the end of the video. I have an idea. Okay, so let me do stroke weight. A couple more things to show you. Wait, let me just keep the timer going. A couple more things to show you. Now, in order to check and see if the outline of the shape actually had the right color, I had to zoom all the way in. But there is a way to make the outline thicker. And the function to do that is called stroke weight. And something that's really important, I didn't really say this explicitly, but everything is case sensitive. What do I mean by case sensitive? Lowercase and uppercase is important. This W in the stroke weight function has to be uppercase. You'll get an error and it won't work if you have a lowercase w there. So stroke weight, and this is what's called camel casing. It's kind of a convention in programming where if you have multiple words in one function name, you might capitalize one of those words, the second word. Okay, that aside, the argument that goes in here is the thickness of the outline. The default is 1 pixel thickness, but we could try something like 8, for example. So if I came over here and I said this is going to show something else excellent. If I said stroke weight 8, now the stroke weight is 8. You can see it's much thicker. Oh, something really weird happened. I said stroke weight 8 for this ellipse, and it's after drawing the rectangle. Why does it also apply to the rectangle? This is so confusing. But what's actually happening here, and this is going to be really important in the next section, is draw is repeating. So actually, even though I said stroke weight 8 here, when it gets to the end, that stroke weight is still applied when draw decides to draw all these shapes again. So what I probably would want to do is say stroke, weight 2 up here. So now you can see that all of my settings for the rectangle shape come before a stroke weight of 2, a green stroke, a blue fill, and all of my settings for the ellipse come right before drawing that ellipse function. These extra line breaks don't actually matter, but I like having them in there to keep the code kind of neat and tidy. One more thing. Let's move the ellipse up a little bit. So you can see it's kind of covering over that rectangle. What if what I want is to actually not have a fill to the ellipse? You might think, I want to just have the outline of a circle. Well, you might think, oh, I could just say fill 0, and that will give me no fill. But it's actually not no fill, because fill of 0 means black, means the color black, no color. So there are 2 more functions that are important for you to learn about. One is called no fill, again with a capital F, and one is called no stroke, again with a capital S. These don't take any arguments, it's just empty parentheses, and these turn off the outline or turn off the fill. So let's just add no fill in here. Instead of fill 0, I'm going to say no fill, and now you can see that circle is just the outline, and we see the background and the rectangle that's sitting underneath it. Okay. Now it's time for you to go and add color to your composition. You can use stroke weight, you can use stroke, you can use fill, and you can also turn off strokes and fills with no stroke and no fill. Okay, that was a kind of long-ish, but I did stop and start. I don't think that's much more than 6 minutes, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a little less.
Okay. So, and maybe, and I'm totally, by the way, Esther, I mean, this is, obviously you're welcome to like edit it. It doesn't edit it in such a way that you can just like totally take out like 30 seconds in there if you want. If there's any extraneous stuff. Okay. So commenting your code, but it can be short. Let's look and see what's in here.
Okay, here I am. So in this video, I'm going to talk actually to
So I guess I could try doing just like a one. I mean, I guess for continuity's sake, you can always, obviously you can use the video that's there if you want, but I guess I might as well keep trying to do everything. So why don't I talk about commenting? Okay. Okay. Let's see. Oh, whoa, something weird just happened there. Are you seeing like my camera all crazy? Did a cable get loose? Ugh. Oh boy. This is not good. I think the power. This is not a good day for this to happen. Okay, I will not wonder why it's back. Okay, that's weird. All right. Everything look okay? Okay. Okay. So there's a film class that's playing like sort of loud music. I don't think it's going to bleed through my mic, but certainly, you know, if it becomes distracting, let me know. Okay. We're getting close to the end of this hour of code tutorial. And very soon, the thing that I want to show you how to add is how to make this actually animate, how to make this move and change over time. But before we do that, let's talk about one other thing. Let's talk about commenting your code. So something that you can do when you're making a sketch in Java. Well, the terminology is weird. Sorry, the music is messing with my head. Let me just start over. I didn't start the timer either. Okay. We're getting to close to the end of this hour of code tutorial, and very soon I'm going to show you. What's that sound? Okay. All right, one more time. Reset, stop, reset, start. We're getting close to the end of this hour of code tutorial, and I really want to get to showing you how to make this stuff animate, move around, and change. But before we do that, I want to talk about one other element related to writing code, and that's commenting your code. So something you can do in addition to writing these function calls with arguments to provide instructions that the computer will follow is add comments, little notes to yourself. And the way to do that is with 2 forward slashes. So 2 forward slashes. You'll notice as soon as I type those in, they're kind of a gray color in this editor that I'm using, and probably similar, a different color in the editor that you're using. So if I write here, I could say, this is my rectangle. And then down here, I could add 2 more slashes, like this is my circle. So the idea here is that these are lines that are completely ignored by the computer when it's following the instructions to render the drawing. But they're notes to myself that can help me keep track of what's going on in my code if I come back to it later, or if I'm sharing my code with somebody else that I'm collaborating with. So things that I might put in here are like, oh, I would like to make this transparent. There's actually a way to make a circle transparent, right? Oh wait, no, that's a bad. I don't want to get down that digression. Sorry, hold on. What's something that I might add here? Okay, I know. Okay. So I might add a comment like, I would like to animate the circle. So that's me just making a note to myself later that I want to animate the circle. So this is good practice to kind of get in the habit. It even seems so silly here. This is such a simple program. It's just drawing a rectangle and a circle to add comments that are explaining what's going on. Your future self will thank you. But the other thing you can do with commenting code is you can also turn on and off certain lines of code without deleting them. So earlier I was like, I wanted to not have the point and the line. Well, what if I, let's put this point back in, and I'm going to give it a stroke. I'm going to make it blue, and I'm going to give it a stroke weight of 16. And you can see, look, there's that point right there. And actually, interestingly enough, a point with a large high stroke weight is almost like a circle. But if what I want to do is actually remove the point without deleting it, because maybe I want it back later, is I can actually add 2 slashes in front of that. So now you can see I can actually comment out these lines of code, and this is a point. So that's another thing you can do with commenting code. You can write explanations, and you can also turn things on and off. So I can put this back, and you can see the points there. Oh, but it's not, it's red. Now it's blue. Now it's red. You get the idea. So before you get to this last stage where you animate your code, why don't you try taking a minute to just write some comments about what different pieces of your code are doing, and also try commenting out lines of code and then adding them back in. Okay, that seemed reasonable-ish.
Yeah, I'm realizing that it's probably good to mention alpha in color. Here, like say one sentence and add it to the RGB video, that like you could add the opacity.
Yeah, I know. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we can. Let me come. Maybe let's come back and do that. Actually. Okay. Great.
I'm also. I don't know if I'm blanking on it, but did we mention that's 0255? That like 255 is the max.
I did. Yes. So I did that when I was at some point over here talking about the range. So yes. One thing that we can do, Esther, also is that, so I have this thing at 11, which is a half an hour from now. I think we could get some of the last pieces. And then I'm doing a live stream with this afternoon with another YouTuber. His name is MPJ. It's the Fun Function channel. But I probably could do a few more little like things after that's over. So if you're like, I don't know to what extent you're working on this stuff today, but if you're working on this stuff today and you want to send me an email like, oh, we missed this or that or whatever, I can try to like maybe do those like later this afternoon. I think I muted you. Okay.
Yeah.
But hopefully this is going to be. Obviously, we can also like redo this again. I mean, I'm happy to like work on this more and more, but obviously there's a sort of deadline next week too. So. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm at the interactive part. This video is good, but it leads to the drawing app example, and this project is focused on interactive art. So it'd be great if covered mouse X and mouse Y, showed it can vary the location variable, the size variable, the color variable, and say, see the example below and add. So basically, so in other words, what I'm going to show is instead of doing the thing where like I move the background to setup and let you sort of like paint around, I'm just going to add mouse X and mouse Y to like maybe first move the circle and then show like what would happen if I did like mouse X for like a color or like the size, that type of thing. Yes?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay. And then And then it says, see the example below and add interactivity or composition in the word for it. Oh, this is the last thing. Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay. Great. So this is going to be like a simple, and I'm just curious, like how long was this video? This is like what I have. Okay. This is probably like a piece of like a longer one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm afraid to like reset the camera because it was doing weird things, but I also, yeah, actually it doesn't go to sleep for a half an hour, so let me just leave it. Let me just check one thing here, sorry. What time? Okay. Okay, here we go. Yeah, also another thing that I'm realizing I never really talked about is like error messages in the console. So that's something we can also like think about putting in, doing something quickly. But let me do this first. It's time now to add animation. I'm very excited about this. So the reason why nothing is animating here, the reason why the circle and the rectangle are staying in the same place where they always have been is because I'm drawing them at specific what's known as hard-coded values. This rectangle can only ever be at 200, 100 because those numbers are written into the code. There must be another way, and there is another way. There is a way to, as you're filling in arguments, right, instead of writing a number, you can put a word. A word is what's known as a variable. A variable is a placeholder for a number. It's basically a reference to a specific number. And there are lots of things and ways and stuff that you can do with variables, but I'm going to show you just in this video one simple starting point. In P5, there is, I'm looking at my eraser. In P5, there is a built-in variable called mousex. M-O-U-S-E capital X. No spaces. Remember, case sensitive. mousex. This word stands in for the X value wherever the mouse is in your canvas. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if I come over here and I say, look, I have my comment here that says I would like to animate the circle. Now is the time to animate it. I am going to, instead of writing the number 200 here, I'm going to replace that with M-O-U-S-E-X. And now if I go over here, look, suddenly the circle is over at the left. Why? Because my mouse is not over there. As soon as I move my mouse over there, look, that circle is always drawn at mouse X. And guess what? You can probably guess what I'm going to add next. What if I change this value to mouse Y, M-O-U-S-E. And I'm going to just make a mistake on purpose here for a second, mouse Y. So if I forget to capitalize Y, you will often get a clue to what the error is down here in the, oh wait, hold on, time out. Do you not have a console? Let me check on Peblio. I just realized it's going to be totally different.
No, there's a console.
It's in the same place. Okay, okay.
Well,
So
it's on the preview window, but it's clear now.
oh, right. Okay, so I can say like, yeah, okay. I'll just mention that. Right, got it. Okay. Sorry, now I have some continuity issues here, but I can. So I'm going to go from, what was it at? It was like 250? No, it was like 200. 150? I don't remember. Yeah, was it there? I think that's where it was. E, and then I'm going to make a mistake on purpose, Y, just to show you. If you ever mistype something or have, like, by accident, a space before the Y, you're always going to get an error message in the console. Whatever editor you're using, the console might be in a different place, but we can see down here, uncaught syntax error, missing parentheses. Sometimes the error message isn't that helpful, but I can see here that what I'm missing here, well, not what I'm missing, but I've added a space by accident. So spaces are important. And capitalization is important. You can also notice, by the way, that if I misspell something, that it's not, the color of that word might not suddenly appear the color that it's supposed to be. So you can see mouse Y is white instead of pink because it's not recognized. Okay. Now that I've done that, right, I've got mouse X and mouse Y. So this is the basic idea, right? I can use now words that stand in for numbers that change over time. Every time draw repeats, the mouse X and mouse Y is in a new location and the shape is drawn. But here's the really important thing. I am kind of taking a very literal approach here. I'm saying mouse X should be the X location of the circle, and mouse Y should be the Y location of the circle. But there's no reason I have to do that. I could reverse those. And as I move the mouse, very counterintuitive, but as I move the mouse around, the circle's moving in this sort of inverted way. I could also say, let's use this mouse X, let's put this back at 100, but let's say mouse Y is the size. So now as I move up and down, the size of the circle changes. I could also set the color to be mouse X. And now you can see the fill, the amount of blue of this rectangle, is based on where the X value of the mouse is. So you could actually take every single number inside of this sketch and put mouse X or mouse Y instead. And in fact, you can also apply math to it. So something might be important here. If I were to say mouse Y for stroke weight, you can see here, like a stroke weight of like 8 pixels is really big. And so you can see I'm kind of getting crazy nonsense. And so what I might want to do is use some math and say something like divided by 100. So I can divide the value, and you can see now it's kind of more reasonable. Or I could say divide by 20, and you can see now it's even more reasonable. Well, I don't know what reasonable is, but you can start to adjust the way the values work. So now is the time to animate your composition. Put mouse X or mouse Y in any places where you have a number, and also think about math. You can use plus, minus. Multiply, by the way, is the star. So if I were to say mouse X times 10 for the fill, whoops, and let me put this back to 4, we can see here, this is now, you can see it's getting much brighter more quickly because I've multiplied it by 10. All right, I look forward to seeing what you make with your composition and making it interactive. I don't know if that was too much of a tangent about that multiply, divide thing.
No, it wasn't that long, so I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's everything.
Okay, so then, so now the question is, and that's everything. And you have this share thing. At the top there were like, was there something else at the very, very beginning? No.
Yeah, so I made like quick videos. They're in the version that's on the Our Code page. That just like explain kind of the editor and what to do, and then the last one explains how to share. We could keep those there.
Okay, it's up to you. Yeah.
They just say like you're done. You could click share project in your workspace to get a shareable link to the project.
It's up to you. I'm happy to, if it's helpful to you, I'm happy to try something. And I can even put the Peblio thing behind me. But if that's, it's up to you to let me know, because I do have 20 more minutes, so it's really up to you. But we can also say, like, let's just take this and see.
Yeah, if it's not a big deal, yeah, if we have time, that would be really great.
Okay. So,
if you like kind of take what you have in the editor and you can stick it in the P5 workspace,
right.
in the Peblio workspace.
Yeah. Okay, great.
So, because you could share as a guest.
Right, okay. So let me... Okay, so I'm just going to like revise this a little bit. Okay, so this is good. So let me go to, so I should go to the actual, it's Peblio .co/hour of code.
Yeah.
And then if I go to get started,
Yeah.
whoops, and then I can just open up the workspace and I can go get mine here. Whoops. And then hit play. And, whoops, And then, so the thing that I'm basically saying is, I'm just going to say, like, look, here's my thing in the Peblio workspace.
Yeah.
And now that when you're done, you can click share. And should I log in, do you think? And then that's because it's more like.
And just share as guest.
And then, okay, I'd say if you're logged in, but I'm going to just share as guest. And then if I do this now, I can do it again. So hour of code with P5. This is my animated circle, whatever. And if I do this, pop-up blocked. Let's always allow. So let's try that again. Let's just do this for right now. And then, and so now I have a link that I can send to anybody.
Yeah.
Great.
And there's just one last thing. If like at the bottom it says click here when you've completed your activity, that just gets you the hour of code certificate.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So right here. So let me show that, and then let me get this back. And okay, great. So maybe should I start with that or do the share first?
I guess the share first.
Okay. Okay, great. The camera might go to sleep. Let me just do it one more time. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Okay. Okay. All right. You're done. You made your first P5.js composition code programming thing with JavaScript. I don't know what to say. I'll just say you completed the hour of code. Okay. Okay. You're done. You completed the hour of code on Peblio with P5.js, and you've made a beautiful composition. So I have mine right here. And so what I'm going to do is now the last two things you should do are, one, make sure you get your hour of code certificate and share your work. So if you have your code in the Peblio editor, you can see here's my project here. I'm very proud of it. You can click Share Project. Right here, you might be logged in which case you'll be logged in, but I'm going to do Share as Guest. I'm going to say Hour of Code Composition by Dan. And this is my beautiful circle, exclamation point. I'm going to hit continue, and you can see now I have a page which has my code, the code running, and I can also go up here, and this is a URL that I could email to anybody, and they'll be able to see what I made with the hour of code. So also, just to mention, you should also, after you've done that, go and click here when you've completed your activity. Clicking through here will get you your hour of code certificate. Thank you so much for following along this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed learning P5.js. Hope you made a composition, and I can't wait to see all the different things that people have made. Okay. Yes? Oh, that seemed...
That was great. Thank you so much.
Okay. And so now, do you think like there needs to be... I know you have like an intro about the project, which is probably not something that's realistic for me to do because it like has like slides and images and things. Or
yeah, one is an introduction to like kind of the editor in the space, but I think that's fine. And then the second one just says like look through these slides and pick an artist or a painter or something that you want.
So maybe I should try that just to like introduce myself and talk about the project. And again, you don't have to use it. I'm just thinking if this is helpful. So that's like.
Yeah, that would be a good introductory video. And
Oh, that's just not on. That's not on this page right now.
No, it's on the main one.
Okay, so but I could click here,
Yeah, it would be good to introduce yourself on the project.
Yeah.
You just need to make something, maybe make a little sketch of it on paper or something, and then that's what they'll create.
Got it. Maybe I should watch what you have just to see. I have it over here. We've got 10 minutes. We can do this. Instructions, select an artist. I don't actually know if I see it. It's fine. I can wing this. I'm just trying to figure out how to get this Google Slides thing. I mean, maybe I actually just want to leave it here, like inside the editor. Maybe that makes sense.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I don't think I ended up making a video.
Oh, okay. So the thing.
But yeah, just do the introduction to say who you are and what the project is, and then just that, like, you can go through this page and play with the examples and
Yep.
use the
Okay.
workspace to write the code, and you can share it at any time.
Okay, great. And yeah. And should I suggest that they try making their design on paper first? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, probably. Like,
Okay.
we can look through this artist options or
Yeah.
find one of your own and just get
Okay, great. So maybe I'll leave this here. Is that going to be weird that there's a video inside of the thing with the thing?
You have the original, the page that's up now. I can't see what you have.
Oh, am I in the? Oh, because you're not looking at the live stream.
Yeah, because the live stream's behind.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just have the Peblio, the current version, like
That's okay.
behind me. So it'll be like, but I'll zoom in on the artist in a second.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So let me just try. I'll just try this a few times, and we'll see if this is good. Okay. By the way, I haven't been paying attention to the Slack channel. I see that there's some chat going on here. No, Alka, I never talked about width and height, but I think we're just going to have to. I think that's going to have to be left out. And okay. Sorry, I was looking at the slide. Okay. There's music playing behind me. Excellent. Okay. The other thing I can do, actually, the other thing I can do, Esther, by the way, if this is useful to you, is I can actually just record myself with the green screen, and then you can put whatever behind me. But maybe that's like too much work. Let me just do it the regular way first, because I just like to keep things simple. But that, okay. But I can do it twice if you want to try that. All right. Stop, reset. Hello, welcome to the Peblio Hour of Code tutorial. My name is Dan, and I'm here to teach you the very basics of programming. You're going to learn to write your first computer code in the language JavaScript with something called P5. So the exercise, the activity here, is to make an artistic composition. I don't know if I should say artistic. Is that a lot of pressure?
Yeah.
That's fine, okay. The activity here, the exercise here, is to make a piece of art, a composition. And on the Peblio page, you can look for some inspiration. So you can click through these slides and see famous kind of geometric art by artists throughout history, and look at these and try to think of what you might want to make your own design just with shapes and color. Get out some pencil, get out some paper, get out some markers. Try doing it by hand first. After you've kind of gotten your idea, in the next video, I'm going to show you what is the syntax, how do you write lines of code, and how do you draw shapes to a computer canvas. At the end, I'm going to show you a little bit about making it interactive and animated, and then a way that you'll be able to share it with your friends and family and anybody else that you want to share your composition with. Okay, are you ready to get started? You're about to write some code. Take a minute to look through, get inspired by the art, and then I'll be right back to show you more about writing code. Is that good?
Yeah. Do you think we have to explain that you press play and stop?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, in some sense that let me add something here. Okay. Let me see. Let me try doing something without having any code in it. I'm just going to delete the code. Actually, let's put this in here. Sorry, Whoops. One thing that I want to quickly mention when you get started writing the code is I'm using a different code editor than what you see on the Peblio page. The code editor I'm using is something you could use later. It's at editor.p5js.org, but you have a code editor right here in the Peblio page. So as I type code, you can type the same code in your editor, and what you'll want to make sure you do is go and click this play button to run your code. Any error messages will show up down here in the console, and you'll see something similar happen as I code as well. Good? So that's a little snippet you can use. Anything else that we've missed in the last few minutes here? Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's everything.
Great. So awesome. So I'm going to actually do something really important here, which I'm going to hit stop recording. So that means everything I got recorded to disk. And I'm going to upload this. I'm going to also hit stop here. So just in case, everything we've done, Esther, is in also screen captured. So if you need to at any point do some sort of post-production thing where you just take me out of the picture, you have just the raw screen capture. So let me save that. Screen capture. Let me go, and now I just need to upload these things. So I'm going to Google Drive now. So, whoops, I have too many computers. I'm using 3 different computers right now. So also, Esther, I will introduce you over email to Mathieu, who does video editing for all my stuff. And so obviously, I don't know what his availability is and what your time. You're welcome to just take all this footage, edit it however you want. But if you want, I'm happy for him to help you with that if that's helpful. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to do something and talk at the same time. So what I'm doing now is I'm making a Google Drive folder. I'm going to call this new folder. I'm going to call this Peblio. I'm saying that right? Yeah. Okay, good. I had a panic there. And the video file that was recorded right now is, just so you know, it's 4 gigabytes. The other thing that is always a backup, just so you know, so this is the footage recorded directly from Open Broadcast Studio. But since I'm live streaming this also gets archived on YouTube, and it's easy to download that file. So if there's any issues with this, we can grab that file, and it's pretty good quality too usually. So the other thing I need to do is go here. Is this going to let me sign in? Shoot. Oh no, I want to be in my NYU. Oh, it's so confusing. So here we go. Peblio. Oops, I misspelled Peblio in the Google Drive folder, but I think we'll live. So this should be, where did that get saved? Under desktop? No, downloads? Oh, it's here, save. Documents, okay. Documents, screen capture. So this is 1.3 gigabytes. So I'm uploading both of these things, and now I'm going to share with you that folder. And then I'm going to turn this off. and run downstairs. Send me another push. I'm putting it in the chat of this Google Hangout. See, let me know if that link is a thing you can click on. And so far, the video file that's 4 gigabytes finished uploading, and the screen capture finished uploading. So they should both be there.
I think I'm just seeing the one, but I'm refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both there.
Okay, great. So I'm going to thank you, everybody, from the Coding Train Patreon, patron, blah, 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 for tuning in. 3 o'clock today will be the actual public live stream with MPJ, Fun Function. If you have ideas, by the way, for what we should do, please feel free to mention ideas in the Slack. And then Esther, I'll be on email all day. So just let me know everything looks good or not, and then we'll be in touch about all this stuff. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. This is super fun to do. Awesome. Okay.
I'll see you soon then.
Okay. And now live stream. So now live stream, where is that? I have to shut down the live stream. Real professional operation I'm running here. And live stream events. And live control room. The audio is about to go off because I'm taking out the battery. Actually, let me just hit stop streaming first.